Hey guys, it's Hawk here. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, it's Hinata fan art by Artsy Miaka. Somebody wanted me to review some of their art, so I'm doing this. And this is one of the pieces I am going to be reviewing. Now, I am going to be doing a part two to the previous review because apparently what I was looking at is old, so I'm going to be reviewing it there. However, I'm going to be looking at this person's art and reviewing it. I already have things a little bit here because I was doing a video of this and then I kept tripping over my words, so I felt like I should redo. So I'll explain a bit by bit what I was doing. If you notice here, it's a little bit edited. Well, and there's areas circled, say under the eyes, under the bangs, right here. What I was suggesting is that when you shade with colored pencil, or in general, a lot of, and I can tell it's supposed to be realistic or semi-realistic, what you might want to do is use, say, shades of purple, like a muted purple, and blend it out gradually with different tones and then the skin color instead of just using browns. Because when you look at shadows in real life, if you look closely, it's not just one tone. You notice there might be a bluish hue to the shadow, or it might be a brownish hue, or whatever it might be. You'll notice it tends to maybe have a little bit of purple, and then it will be like kind of blended out, and it gives it more three-dimensional look, and again, a more realistic look. I was also advising to put shading here under where hair might be and say under the eyes because people naturally have um, shading and shadows under the eyes. Another thing I was suggesting is to perhaps add a little bit of a natural contour, not like she's wearing makeup, but you know what I'm saying. A suggestion to look at it for highlights and shading, surprisingly, is makeup, because when you look at a makeup tutorial, whether it be a picture or video, when you look at it, you'll get a better understanding of where highlights and shadow would go. And so that's one thing I might suggest looking at so for help. And it also gives a good get gets you to have a good grasp of the structure of the face or whatever they're putting makeup on. And I was just suggesting shadow here. Here for the hair, I was suggesting perhaps to do this, but take a color within the possibly the same color family and use it to burnish in the hair to make it look more complete and more like actual hair. And I also felt that a little bit of midtones could have been used just to add a little bit more depth to the hair. Another thing I was suggesting in the highlight is to say when you're doing this, have a low opacity, and low opacity something like this, like still within a lighter tone, or not completely. Don't I was showing here not to just use one color and like the say like don't just use this blue and then these colors. Use different tones, say more like a purpley tone or a pinkish tone or a greenish tone. And it'll just make everything look a bit more realistic, because when you look at something it's not just within that one color. You'll see different shades, tones, hues of other colors. And I'm sorry if I'm getting the terms wrong, but yeah, I feel like that could have. You'll notice it doesn't have it. You'll notice it has a lot of the different hues and stuff like that. Another thing I might suggest with metal, when you're doing metal, because I can tell it's supposed to be metallic, is to perhaps burnish it in, and that is when color pencil. You know how say you put the color in, and then you take a color and you go over it really hard, and you can still see like a gradient, but it looks shiny, but not too much, of course, because you don't want to have too much of a reflection where you can't take a picture properly. But perhaps burnish things in, because usually when I do that, when I'm working with colored pencil, It makes things look a bit more shiny and metallic, and I feel that would add a really, really nice look to it. Another thing I might suggest is that when you're doing eyelashes, if you notice when you're doing eyelashes, they actually tend to do things like this. When you're doing eyelashes, they kind of go over the eye and not just straight up. They just tend to, even though the ones that curl, they tend to go like this, and then you see a bit of shadow of it in the eye. I don't know, it's just a little suggestion next time, maybe when you're doing some realism. Other than that, I really like it. The next piece I'm going to be reviewing is Mother of Dragons by the same person. So what I might suggest is to possibly here to look at neck anatomy, because this seems to kind of look, the neck seems to be too far in. Perhaps when you're doing something like this, say when they're looking over from a side angle, try looking, because I know I used to have this problem too, I still kind of do. Perhaps do something like this, because then it, it the neck wouldn't look too far in or out, and the head wouldn't look like it's too far out from the neck. Just a little bit of suggestion, because then it wouldn't look too thick, the neck, but things might look a bit more realistic. Again, I might suggest putting a little bit of a shadow where the hair is, like here, just so you have a little bit more of shadow and like depth and stuff like that. For the hair, I feel like I don't know if this is supposed to be completely realistic. It looks more like it was supposed to be semi-realistic, so I have no idea what look you were going for, but I feel like you kind of could have, again, with the hairline, when you're doing a hairline, you might want to do something like this, have it coming from a hairline more like this, and not just a space. I feel like that would have worked well, and I feel like you could have used a bit more midtones in there, and I feel like it would have looked a little bit more complete. Again, with the eyelashes, I feel like you could have made it go a little bit out over the eye like a normal eyelash, like, well, not like that, but you know what I mean. What I did over here. I feel like that could have worked. I do like what you did with the forehead, and I do like the color selection, in fact, in both pieces. But I feel like that would have been good. I'll also congratulate you on putting the cupid, so I like it when people do this. Next I might critique a little bit on the lips. This one seems to be, these two seem to have similar things going on, so that's why I'm just gonna do this. When you look at lips, you might notice tiny little wrinkles, so just put tiny little lines and use the midtones and other and different colors to kind of blend it out into the mouth, but you can still kind of see the wrinkle, and then put the highlight there in little areas. I feel like it would make the lips look a bit more full and realistic, and perhaps put shadow in the middle of the lips so the lips could possibly look a little more realistic. When you see the natural face, you'll notice the face naturally. It has a highlight where the cupid's bow area is, and I will congratulate you on putting the cupid's bow there. I don't notice a lot of artists doing that. I feel like you could possibly put some highlight where the cupid's bow is, perhaps in this area put highlights in the lips, and I feel like it would be a little bit more realistic. And when you do the mouth, like say whatever you have here, a lot of people, they usually have, even if they don't have dimples, they have little like smile line things when they do, so when they smile it goes like this. I feel like you could have done this and then just like blend it in like normally, like what you do with skin, and it would look a little bit more realistic, because I can tell for both pieces you're going for either a realistic or semi-realistic look, and I just feel like it kind of makes it look a little bit more real, because that's what a lot of human faces look like. Overall for a beginner, because you said you were a beginning artist, you are really good actually. It's far better than I was as a beginning artist, that is for sure. I just would suggest perhaps looking into different colors to shade with than just within the same color family like that, and perhaps work on depths a little bit in areas like shading again, and maybe the placement of things a little bit, and coloring techniques. But other than that, I say you are really good for a beginner, far better than I was. keep going at it. Keep doing what you do. You are definitely way better than I was as a beginner. Again, I keep saying I hope you could get something out of it. Sorry for being awkward, and bye.